I never thought a simple wedding invitation would shift something in me. Jake, my best friend since high school, had asked me to come to his cousin's wedding with his family. I wasn't exactly thrilled. Big gatherings aren't my thing, but he insisted. I finally gave in, if only to escape my usual weekend routine. When I arrived, I noticed her almost immediately. Emily, Jake's younger sister. Last I remembered, she was a lanky teenager, always tagging along.
But now?
She was different. Confident, graceful, and clearly grown. She wore this emerald green dress that clung to her in all the right ways, and the second she caught me looking, she smiled like she knew exactly what she was doing. We exchanged a casual hug, made small talk. She laughed a little too much at something I said, or maybe I imagined that. I didn't think much of it. Weddings have a weird energy. Music, wine, everyone playing a part. So when she pulled me toward the dance floor and said, "Come on, one dance won't kill you," I just laughed and went with it. At first, it was clumsy. I don't dance, and she knew it. But she didn't care. She just moved closer, guiding my hands with hers. She smelled like vanilla and something floral I couldn't place. Our eyes met, just briefly, but long enough for something to shift. She bit her lip, then smiled like it was nothing. The song ended and we stepped apart, but something hung in the air. I shrugged it off. She was Jake's sister. I had a girlfriend. I didn't come here looking for anything. It was just a dance. People dance at weddings. No big deal. Later that evening, I caught her looking at me from across the room. Not in a dramatic, movie scene kind of way. Just a glance. But there was curiosity there. And maybe a little mischief. I ignored it.
Or tried to.
I found Jake, laughed over drinks, and pretended none of it mattered. When the night ended, Jake's parents offered to drop me home, but Emily volunteered instead. Said she wanted an excuse to drive. I sat next to her in silence, pretending to scroll through my phone, hyper-aware of how close our arms were. She stopped in front of my place, looked over, and said, "Thanks for the dance." I nodded. "Anytime." I opened the door, about to step out when she added, "You clean up better than I remember." I smiled, not sure how to respond. That was it. A simple compliment. A dance. A look. Harmless, on the surface. But something was different. I couldn't sleep that night. Her laugh kept replaying in my head. And for the first time in a long time, I found myself wondering what it would feel like to dance with her again. Not because of the song or the setting, but because of how easy it felt, and how wrong that probably was. A few days after the wedding, Emily messaged me on Instagram. Just a meme about bad dancers, tagging me with a laughing emoji. I replied with something dry and sarcastic. She sent another. It turned into a back and forth, harmless at first, just the kind of light banter you exchange without thinking too much. But it didn't stop. Messages turned into late-night chats. Jokes turned into stories. Before I realized it, we were talking almost every day. I told myself it was nothing. I had Maya, my girlfriend of 2 years. We shared an apartment, split rent, grocery lists, future plans. But somewhere along the way, we had started functioning like roommates. Conversations were practical. Sex was routine or avoided altogether. We were comfortable, maybe too much so. Emily felt like a breath of something I hadn't known I missed. She listened without interrupting. She asked questions and actually waited for the answers. When she sent voice notes, her voice always carried this softness, like everything she said had a touch of meaning beneath it. I started waiting for her replies in ways I hadn't waited for anything in months. It wasn't physical. Not yet. But it was something. Emotional, definitely. And dangerous. One afternoon, she asked if I'd help her set up her new bookshelf. Said she didn't want to wait for Jake. I hesitated. Told myself I'd only stay 20 minutes. I ended up there for 3 hours. We didn't just set up furniture. We talked, drank iced tea, argued over song lyrics. There was a moment when I stood behind her, handing her screws, and her hand brushed mine. She didn't pull away. Neither did I. Driving home, I felt guilty. Not because anything had happened, but because I wanted something too. That alone felt like betrayal. Maya noticed something was off. She asked if I was stressed, offered to cook. I told her I was fine. She gave me a long look, but didn't press it. That night, I lay next to her in bed, wide awake, thinking about someone else. About how Emily had laughed when I misread the instruction manual. About how I kept remembering the color of her eyes in the sunlight through her living room window. The next time Emily messaged, it was late, past midnight. She asked what I was doing. I replied before thinking. We talked for an hour. At one point, she said, "This feels weird, doesn't it?" I stared at the screen, unsure what to say. Then she followed with, "But not bad." I didn't answer, just locked my phone and rolled over, heart racing. I knew where this was headed. I wasn't stupid. This wasn't just texting anymore. This wasn't innocent. The line had been crossed emotionally, and physical was just waiting on the other side. I told myself I could pull back anytime, but I didn't. I didn't even try. Maya left for the weekend to visit her parents. We'd planned to go together, but I told her I had deadlines. She didn't argue, just packed a small bag and kissed me goodbye like she always did. I stood at the door for a second longer than usual after she left, the silence of the apartment suddenly heavy. Emily texted the next morning, "Still alive?" I replied, "Barely. Might die from boredom." She sent a smirking emoji, followed by, "Want company?" I stared at the message for a while, typed deleted. Then finally, "Sure." She showed up with takeout and 2 bottles of cider. No makeup, hair tied up, wearing an oversized hoodie. She looked effortless, comfortable, like she belonged. We sat on the floor and ate, talked about nothing, laughed at dumb stories. She played some music from her phone, same playlist from the wedding. When that song came on, the one we danced to, neither of us said anything. At some point, the space between us vanished. It wasn't sudden. It happened slowly, like neither of us wanted to admit it was happening. Her hand brushed mine again. This time I didn't pretend it was an accident. She looked up at me, and I knew I wasn't strong enough to walk away. She kissed me first. It wasn't dramatic or rushed. It was quiet,
Soft.
but it hit hard. I kissed her back, and everything else disappeared. Her mouth, her skin, the weight of her legs wrapped around me. It felt like something I wasn't supposed to feel, but had craved longer than I'd admitted. There was no hesitation, no second-guessing. Only urgency. Only release. Afterward, we lay there in silence. Her head on my chest, fingers tracing light patterns on my skin. I didn't feel proud or satisfied. I felt wrecked. Completely hollow. She looked up at me and said, "We probably shouldn't have done that." I didn't answer. What was there to say? She got dressed slowly, tied her hair back, avoided eye contact.
At the door, she paused.
It wasn't just the wine, by the way. I meant all of it. Then she left. I didn't move for a while. Just stared at the ceiling, the room now colder, quieter. The bed smelled like her. My mouth still tasted like her skin. I took a shower, scalding hot, hoping it would wash away whatever line we'd just crossed. But it didn't. When Maya called that night, I answered like nothing happened. Asked how her mom was. Said I missed her. I hated how easily the lie slipped out. I didn't know what the hell I'd just done, or what came next. But the worst part wasn't the guilt. It was how much I wanted to do it again. The morning after, I acted like everything was normal. I made coffee, folded laundry, sent work emails. Maya returned Sunday evening, and I helped her carry her bag in, kissed her cheek, asked about her trip. She talked about her dad's new garden and how her mom wanted us to visit more often. I nodded, smiled in the right places, answered when necessary. It felt like watching someone else live my life. Emily didn't text the next day, or the day after. I didn't either. I replayed every detail of that night in my head until it started to rot. It stopped feeling exciting. It started feeling like a secret with a timer. Every normal moment with Maya now came with this sick weight. How easily I could pretend. How easily I lied. I avoided Jake too. Skipped a hangout. Left texts on read. I couldn't sit across from him. Not after what I'd done with his sister. I kept telling myself it was a one-time thing. That Emily and I had both known it was a mistake. But it didn't feel like a closed door. It felt unfinished. Then Emily messaged, "We should stop. Before it gets worse." I stared at the screen, thumbs hovering. I typed out a dozen replies. None of them right. Finally, I just wrote, "Yeah, you're right." She didn't answer. I didn't expect her to. Maya started noticing. Not the affair, I kept that buried. But my distance. My silences. She asked one night, "Are we okay?"
I said yes.
She asked again, slower, "Are you okay?" I lied again. Of course I was. Just tired. Just work. Just stress. But something in her changed after that. She stopped initiating anything, conversations, touches, even dinner plans. It was like she felt something had shifted but didn't know what. I watched the distance grow. Did nothing to stop it. One night, we went to a friend's birthday. Maya talked to some coworkers. I sat alone, drink in hand, and someone played that same song. The one from the wedding. I froze for a second. Just one. But it was enough. Maya looked over at me. We locked eyes.
She didn't ask.
She didn't need to. Something passed between us, quiet and invisible. I broke eye contact first. A week later, I found an old hoodie of Emily's at the back of my closet. She must have left it that night. I held it for too long, then shoved it into a bag and threw it in the trash.
No ceremony.
Just finality. I haven't seen Emily since. Jake never found out, as far as I know. Maya's still here, but something's broken. Or maybe it's me. Maybe it always was.
Sometimes I think about that night.
Not for the sex. Not for the thrill. Just for the silence after. The way she looked at me like she knew everything would unravel. She was right. All it took was one dance. One moment. One decision I can't undo. And now I carry it with me, every day, every lie, every quiet second I have to pretend nothing happened.